This is We Warcross Lovers, a story game that uses the tarot to build a story, but also for task resolution, which I'm excited about. I created this game because when I watched Rise of the Skywalker, I had very complicated feelings. So I had to just express it in the game. I just had to let it out. My name is Jammi, they, them pronouns, please. I design games through Sword Queen Games, which you can find at temporalhiccup.itch.io.
My name is E. I'm a cartoonist who used to want to create video games in the veins of role-playing games, but that was too hard for me, and I'm just fulfilling part of my dream by becoming a game master for players in real time. I prefer the he, him pronouns.
To play We Warcross Lovers, we need a tarot deck. So we are using the Fountain Tarot that I'm super excited to use. It works best if the minor arcana has images on them instead of some of the decks that just have like 4 swords or 3 wands. You need the minor arcana that has like images that are easier to read stories with. We'll be using the major arcana to create our story aspects, and then the minor arcana for the mechanical confrontation. We've already gone over our safety tools together. We've outlined our lines and veils. Do we want it to be a sci-fi story, a historical story? Do we want to be open to what we see in the tarot?
What are you excited about?
I always like sci-fi.
Yeah, sure, sci-fi.
I also included how to read the tarot, but I will be here to guide you to talk through it. We're going to start with describing our world to see where our characters live and what they have to deal with. So we're going to draw 3 cards from the major arcana, and we're going to answer the 3 questions. What kind of world do we live in? What war is tearing apart our world? And what hope, false or true, glimmers in the dark? So the first card I got is the Empress. I almost always get this card. This and the Queen of Swords. I always get it. That's why it's called Sword Queen Games. It's supposed to answer, what kind of world do we live in? I'm really drawn to this really fancy looking coat that she has on. And I feel like it's a world based on like opulence. It's based on hierarchy. When you use the tarot, you're going to get like sparks in your head. You're going to see stuff or feel stuff. And so it's best to just go with it, even if you haven't thought it out, right? So what I'm seeing in my head is, you remember that anime, The Count of Monte Cristo? It looks ridiculous in a really good way. It's a world based on hierarchy, on who are nobles, who are not, who are born into privilege, who are not. It's not a very fair world. You pick the second card. It's a star. It's kind of like a pole dancer almost. It's like the star itself is the pole, like the light coming from the star is what she's dancing on. And then she sort of like has a jug of water here on her shoulder, and it's spilling, and you realize she's on top of this lake of water. The Empress from earlier is also standing in water. So we can see there's already like a connection. So what war is tearing apart our world?
If we're going by the obvious answer, I think it's the right to water.
So it's like they're fighting over resources. Because there's a person here doesn't mean that there's like, I guess there are certain people who are controlling it for everybody else.
It could even be that water becomes part of weapon that's used in the war. The person is holding this light, like a lance.
Oh, I like this. So the third card answers, what hope, false or true, glimmers in the dark. The tower is almost always dramatic. So there's like a forest, and then there's a small structure and another one here, but the top heavy part is like falling downwards. There's fire everywhere. When I look at this, I keep hearing the word prophecy. I don't feel like it's just like the normal idea of a prophecy. We were talking about the elite and the nobles. There are omens. There's an understanding that the structure is going to fall apart and break. Do you want to add anything to it?
It looks like 2 prisms with the light bending through it. Something went wrong with the lights.
If we go with that, it's like this wasn't supposed to be a problem. Like the elites and the privileged, all of that. They were meant to take care of the world and take care of people, but something went wrong. Things are just falling apart.
The false hope that they are good for the people or that they will be destroyed.
I kind of like the drama of the false hope that they're good for the people. The next part where we describe our could-be lovers. We don't know if they're going to end up together, but we'll see.
I'm always aiming for one direction, but sometimes the game works against me.
We don't draw cards for this. We'll build upon what's already been established. What place in the world do our characters have? How are they opposed against each other? Their stars crossed. Who are they aligned to? What opposite sides of the war do they fight from? What do they look like? What are their names? I think it's a really easy thing to say that one of them at least has to be from the nobility. So I guess the question is, are you in the mood to be this character, or shall I take this character? We were talking about how the water is a weapon. I wonder if one of them can use water, like they're psychically linked, or it's a water bender situation. I'm cool with being the bad guy, quotation mark.
Is it definitely the nobles being the bad guy?
I'm gonna be biased. I will always say the nobles are the bad guys in almost every game I'm in.
And let's go for that.
So when we play this game, it's really best to just go with whatever feels fun in your head. It's really best to not overthink it. I have this perfect image of who I'm seeing. It's based on Lady Satsuki from the anime Kill la Kill. They use she, they pronouns.
Currently, I just really like Drummer from The Expanse.
She has a very cool look. They look like they'd be really good together.
Two Ice Queens.
Let's go for it. I think once you reach a certain point as a noble, when you have proven your worth, you are given a crystal name. So I think my character's name is Obsidian. Her nickname is Obi. Yeah, let's go like full on bad girl.
Obi as in Obi-Wan, Star Wars.
I didn't even realize it's true though. I really have Star Wars in my DNA. Do you have a name for your character yet?
I'm thinking of a star name. Sagittarius is the constellation. Name will be Sagi. So Sagi.
It feels very in line with the star card when I look at it, because like it's like she has a weapon, right? And Sagittarius with their bow and arrow is very cool. Next, we're going to ask who we are. Just as an aside, most of these questions I got from real tarot readings I do, real tarot spreads. And I did that because what we think the situation is, who we think we are, what we think is going on, can be very different from what's actually happening. We're each going to pull a card from the Major Arcana again. And the first card is going to be, who do I think I am? And the second card is, who am I actually?
I'll go first.
The Chariot. So this is who you think you are. Best to just go with your gut instinct when you see the card. The Chariot represents movement. It represents war and victory. It represents always going forward. And you can kind of see it in the card. Like, this is someone who is holding on to the reins of a horse. It's interesting because like there's this black and white, like it's very binary.
It's us or them.
This black and white view of the nobles, they're all jerks.
Since they're heads in the black part, then that makes me the bad guy.
What does darkness mean to you? Because it could mean ignorance, it could mean not knowing the truth, it could mean something is hidden from you and you know it. Like the people you are working with, they could be freedom fighters, they could be people trying to bring down the nobles. Like maybe Sagi has a feeling that they're hiding something from her. Maybe they don't trust her, maybe they think she's too young, maybe she has to prove herself.
She believes she is already doomed, fighting against the noble class, which is probably more powerful than her people.
So she thinks it's a losing battle, but it's one that has to be fought.
Yeah, but then that feels like it's the who I really am, not the who I think I am.
We'll see. Do you want to pull the next card already to see how that goes against?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Emperor. This is interesting because the first card we pulled was the Empress. I do have an idea, but I'll let you go first because it's your character.
Do I know who I really am?
We as players know this about your character, but your character does not yet know.
She is part of the noble class.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Oh my gosh, yes. We are ready for the tragedy. Yes, it's starting. She just didn't know, maybe because she was taken when she was young, or her memories were altered in some way. There's so many possibilities. I was actually thinking that the nobles know. Not everybody, maybe. I don't know if that means she's a sleeper agent or if there is a noble that's trying to destroy the system from the inside. I just like the idea that there's at least one noble that knows Sagi exists and knows that Sagi is fighting for the other side.
Maybe that's why she has survived this long.
So she keeps telling herself, I'm doomed. But she has no idea that the nobles are protecting her in a way.
Yeah, her people thinks she's Lucky Charm. Whenever she's with them, they live.
I got a good card for who I think I am. The Fountain, which is actually unique to the Fountain Tarot. Some of the tarot decks will have a card that's absolutely unique. That's why there's no number here. It's just the infinity sign where the Roman numeral number should be. So I'm thinking...
You are one of a kind.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So Lady Obsidian, I can feel the arrogance coming off of her. She thinks she's really special. I feel like when I look at the Fountain, I think she was genetically created to be absolutely perfect. She believes that she carries everything that is perfect about the nobles. I think she's really like one of those awful people who has been ingrained to think that, what do they call it? Like eugenics or something? Like genetically predisposed to being a better person.
Gattaca.
Yeah, that's what she believes. The perfect warrior, the perfect leader, the perfect everything. But who she actually is, Wheel of Fortune. I feel like she was told that. But when she was created, she was just an experiment that they didn't think would survive. It's kind of like Metal Gear Solid. The person who thought they were perfect, it turned out that they were just made up of everything that wasn't perfect. Lady Obsidian was really just an experiment. I think they're surprised she has lived this long. We'll see what happens. I think that's a tragedy hanging over her head that she's not aware of, that she only has a few years left to live. Beautiful star that's going to burn out. Do you have anything you want to add?
It's a coin, right? So you're on one side of the coin, I'm on the other side. We're of the same, either the same genetic source or related in some way.
I want to lean into that. I want to say Lady Obsidian was created to make up for the loss of Sagittarius. So when Sagittarius was, like, for whatever reason, given to the other side, the nobles were like, we have to create our own version. We're going to experiment and create. So Lady Obsidian actually has all these false memories. She's not really who she thinks she is. Kind of like a replicant from Blade Runner. Like, she thinks she's a person, but she's not really. Well, but then, the question is what makes a person, but you know what I mean. Like, I think she's a person. I love the story, the tragedy, which brings us to the drama of our first confrontation. This is going to be the first of 4 confrontations. We should establish first, where are we confronting each other? How do we briefly paint the scene and its details? And is this a confrontation of violence, words, skill, magic, faith, or something else? So I think the question is, do we see ourselves like on a battlefield? Like, we know that the world, we are fighting over water. We know that the water is somehow used as a weapon. I have a couple ideas, but I'd like to give it to you first.
You caught me in an operation, so we're fighting a duel somewhere.
When it comes to this game, it's best if it's like an OAV or a movie where, like, it's just very quick, like they're just suddenly confronting each other over and over again. So we don't have to sweat the details too much. But I like what you're saying with the operation. I feel like it's one of the operations where you were sent to... I kind of like the idea of taking back a water source from the nobles. There was intel that this was supposed to go well, but then all of a sudden Lady Obsidian shows up with her small army. I kind of like the idea that they're all like covered in black armor that gleams like obsidian, like black stormtroopers, I guess.
I'm gonna have the beam as a weapon, so the staff that can probably shoot lasers at the tip, that comes from some kind of crystal infused by the water that we're stealing from. So we are fighting either on a station that's supposed to mine an asteroid or the asteroid itself. If I needed to recharge, I would just stab into the asteroid, pulse back, and refire.
And what I'm fighting with is my army, and I think I have my own dark blade. I think it's also using the water, but your connection to it is much more natural. I feel like my connection to the water is kind of cruel. It's wasteful of the water. We're going to go into the confrontation. We have to pick a card that we are going to wager. So in your case, choose if you're going to wager the Emperor or the Chariot. Please note that in case you lose the wager, it means you will have to change the truth of one of these cards.
Does it have to be narratively justified how we choose?
No, not at all. It's up to you.
For the sake of what I want for the story, I'm gonna wager the Emperor.
I like the genetic thing. I know I made this game, but I love the difficulty in this choice all the time. I'm gonna wager about her being the perfect. So in case I lose this wager, I'm already gonna start breaking the heart of my character. We're going to each draw one card from the minor arcana. One player reveals their card first. They refer to the wager results on the next page or on their story sheet. Narrate the moment, answer the questions, and then the other player reveals their card. And the player who draws the higher card wins the confrontation, and they claim that major arcana card. The person who lost the confrontation has to change the truth. We'll get to that in a bit. I got the 5 of coins, and the questions that I have to answer if I get a coins, which is also pentacles in most decks. Say how your body, mind, or heart gives out, like a flower giving into winter. Why do you doubt yourself? What opening does your opponent take advantage of? And I'm kind of looking at the card for some inspiration. This is not necessary, but I kind of like the idea of This is the first time I think that we're like really fighting each other face to face. And Lady Obsidian is so used to the idea of her being perfect, of her being invincible and strong. But the battle is so even. Sagittarius is like able to meet her over and over again. And so the doubt really starts to creep in, the idea of like, am I really perfect if I can't even push back this rebel scum? Lady Obsidian overreacts. Her pride gets the better of them. She's fighting like with really wide open attacks. It's super easy to take advantage. And I think at this point, Lady Obsidian is thrown down into the ground like almost easily and is super vulnerable at this point. You got the Page of Cups, so which means you definitely win the wager. Say how your heart expands and urges you to forgive and let go, like water finding its way home. How do you fall in love with your opponent? What do you want more than anything? It's like a glass box. Ooh, you know, it kind of looks like water. It's glass within glass, and then there's like this swirling kind of energy, kind of water thing. But the person is looking at the cup that's on top.
Is this before they are lovers, or
They are not quite lovers yet at this point. Unless you want them to be lovers already. That's also okay with me.
but then the question kind of doesn't make sense. Then they will fall in love again, right?
Though it has happened in my playtest, like it means there are new things they fall in love with. I guess I should make it clear. When I made the game, I had the idea that they start falling in love through the confrontations.
Lady Obsidian sounds like she is ruthless. Would Saji like her?
You could say that there's something that happens that I haven't said yet. You could state that something happens, describe something that would make Saji fall in love. Because right now we know that Obsidian has realized for the first time that they're not invincible, but they keep fighting anyway. They keep pushing on. They keep trying their best. It could be their determination. It could be something else. Maybe there was a moment when one of the soldiers could have been killed and Obi sacrificed, you know, made sure to get in front of them and take the hit, not like the other nobles.
Maybe a few things. First, it seems like Lady Obsidian saw through their group's supposedly secret raid on the asteroid. So she admires Lady Obsidian's intelligence. And then in the heat of battle, Obi blocked a strike from Saji's Star Lancer. Had her weapon destroyed in the process to protect a soldier from being killed.
And it goes against what nobles usually do. They're not meant to destroy something so precious like that weapon just for the sake of a soldier. So the player who lost the confrontation must now draw from the minor arcana again and change the truth of the card they lost. I got the 10 of Wands, so it looks kind of dramatic, like they're carrying a heavy burden. The card that I lost was that they were made to be perfect. What changes is that Lady Obsidian realizes how heavy the burden truly is. Lady Obsidian thought that this was going to be an easy war to win, but it is not. And she's feeling the pressure, and they're forced to carry it alone. Because when I look at this card, there's no one else there, and it's quite dark. In fact, I think after the confrontation, her family is upset that she sacrificed the weapon to save a lowly soldier. So she knows that she can't trust them to assist her or help her because she's supposed to do it on her own. I forgot to mention that we can narrate or roleplay. I'm a little more comfortable narrating rather than roleplaying, but how do you feel about it?
That's fine, because I'm learning. Might be too much going on. Try to think of dialogue too.
And then the next part is we're going to look into the legacies that have molded our characters that came before them. We're each going to pull again from the major arcana, so it's the exact same thing. And the questions this time are, what is the legacy that created me? What is the demand from me? But the second card is, what secrets of this legacy do I not know? I think I'll go first this time because it makes sense. I feel a little bit because Lady Obsidian lost this confrontation. So my card from the top is the world, and it's a naked lady person on top of the world. They look so confident. They don't look like they're worried about being naked. When I look at it, I feel like this is a mother figure. Lady Obsidian comes from a long line of genetically perfected, engineered people. So there's something like a quotation mark family structure, but it's created, right? Like every step of the way it's created. The reason why we're fighting for the water, it's the only way that we can expand our armies. I think it's really about expansion and pushing forward. There's a story that the nobles tell themselves where they say everything used to belong to us, but it was taken away. So this is our right to reclaim it. That's amazing pressure that Lady Obsidian is under. The second question I got is the Hermit. So it's a shadowy figure with something like a flashlight that's going into these trees, but the trees look foreboding. And there's a lot of snow, but there are some stars. What secrets of this legacy do I not know? I think there is a noble that left the family. I think that they have a story that they were the greatest of their generals and that he died valiantly in battle. But I think the truth is he just left. He is trying to free Lady Obsidian, but I don't know why yet. Like, I see this mysterious dude, but I don't really know what he wants. Like an Obi-Wan figure. He's trying to like manipulate things from the outside. Your first card is Death. What is the legacy that created you? What does it demand from you? Wow, that is so dark.
What I think is my real family was wiped out in an attack by the nobles. The demand is that I defend the rest of my colony or community from further massacres like that.
I really like how you took Death and like just really grounded it into the story.
The blackness in the Chariot card was where it all started. I have to be a bad guy somehow.
That's what I like about the tarot, because you see the story unfolding across the different cards. It's super fun. And your second card, you got the Lovers. Two people, sort of like in an orb, like an aura. They're holding their hands out to each other. You can't see their faces too clearly. They kind of look like they're mirroring each other. And the question again is, what secrets of this legacy do I not know?
Someone was trying to protect Lady Obsidian by destroying my existence, but I was not killed in the massacre. And the mirror is because it's related to Lady Obsidian.
So once again, I'm going to choose which cards we're going to wager. I'm going to wager this mysterious dude. So in case I lose, I can get more information about him. If I don't lose, he remains mysterious. Which card would you like to wager?
Death.
We establish where are we confronting each other? How do we briefly paint the scene as details? You know, I think a mysterious signal goes off. I think it's from like this dude. He sent it to both of us so that we would show up. I'm going to say right now, I don't know why. I'm just thinking it would be mysterious and cool. I feel like this colony, no one has been here for years. It's kind of like a ghost colony. There's like this mysterious beacon that's just going off in the distance. And Lady Obsidian lands with her spaceship alone this time. She doesn't have her army. She hasn't told anybody that she's going here.
What can I say about this beacon message?
Oh, anything you want.
The message that she received was that Lady Obsidian will be here alone.
The message Lady Obsidian got was different. I think the message she got was, if you want to know more about what your family is not telling you, meet me here. When we confront each other, are we going to fight immediately, or is this going to be a battle of words or something else? Because I do feel like Sagittarius is ready for a fight, that this would be an opportunity to capture or kill Lady Obsidian.
But since they're alone, maybe Saji would try to either trick Lady Obsidian into giving her some information about future attacks, or just try to convince her to join her cause. Tell her all the bad things that the nobles has done to her community.
Battle of words. Really trying to get someone to bend, someone to see the truth. So you got the 4 of coins. I have a chance. It's the same questions as before. I just actually put them over and over again in the manual so that people don't have to like flip back and forth. Say how your body, mind, or heart gives out, like a flower giving into winter. Why do you doubt yourself? What opening does your opponent take advantage of? Kind of like there's a stack of coins and there's like a makeshift tent. It's not very strong. And you can tell they're in the middle of a snowstorm. So the protection doesn't look very good.
Her first instinct is to just exact revenge and kill Lady Obsidian. But I guess from the last time, she just been thinking about Lady Obsidian too much and she couldn't make the move. Obsidian was able to defeat her in a moment of weakness. They might still talk, but she has lost element of surprise.
So I got the 6 of Wands. So technically I win because 6 is higher than 4, but the Wands is fascinating. Say how your power, passion, or desire overwhelms you and burns you both like a fire that will never go out. How are you both left reeling? What ignites between you two? Lady Obsidian is just so amazed with how Sagittarius will not back down, how Sagittarius would just go straight for the fight with no doubt, like the same doubts that were plaguing Lady Obsidian earlier. Is it okay if I go in for a kiss already, or is that too soon?
It's fine. Maybe it's in the heat of argument. They're trying to convert each other to the other side.
They're like shouting at each other. They're trying to get the other one to understand. She's not thinking it, but they get really close to each other. I think Lady Obsidian just goes in for that kiss. Her side of the argument is it's pointless to fight because no matter what, the nobles are going to win. And they're going to claim the galaxy whether or not Lady Obsidian survives. She's starting to realize she may be expendable, but she has no choice but to keep fighting because she doesn't believe the nobles can lose. She knows she's probably going to die. That's why she kisses Sagittarius.
Even though she won that fight.
Yeah, it's true. I get to keep the death card. You have to pull a card from the minor arcana to change the truth of what we established in the death card. And it is the 10 of coins. A mansion or something like that, like a beautiful structure, a palace, a close-up of it, and there are these coins that are stacked up to show like opulence and richness, to show stability.
Is it a light?
Yeah, overhead. And it's like shining, focusing on the coins. Has new information been revealed? Is something brought violently to light? Is there unmistakable proof of something other? Do you realize they can no longer deny the truth of something? Has reality shifted somehow?
Answer that I'm thinking of is not very satisfying, but I'll just say it out loud and see what you think.
Sure.
When Obi said that the nobles will win no matter what, Saji is thinking maybe it's because of their immense wealth they are able to continue this fight. The people who are ruled can only use their number advantage, so they just have to keep getting their people killed. So she thinks the demand is to get wealthy somehow. That sounds terrible.
Maybe it would be kind of cool if it turns out the water is kind of sentient or there's some form of sentience and it connects to Sagittarius in that moment and says, I cannot be owned by the nobles. I belong to you and the people who need my power. Kind of like the psychic maelstrom from Apocalypse World is what I'm thinking. Like it's not really a person.
I'm not sure about the sentient part. Does that hermit show up at all?
We can say that. Well, because, he is an ex-noble. So maybe while Sagittarius is realizing that he can offer a solution to destroy the resources, to destroy the money and the power they have, maybe that's why he walked away from it, so he could figure out how to do that.
Does he show to both of them? Then how would Obi respond to his reveal?
Lady Obsidian doesn't know who he is. I think he was stricken from the record. He's not giving his name. So she knows of this famous general and everything, but I don't think he looks anything like what she would expect the general.
Then she would oppose him like an enemy, right?
Even though I want the confrontation, it doesn't mean that I have to win this part. It could mean that Sagittarius manages to escape with this guy, because this would reflect the changing of the wager, right? The changing of the reality. Now she has new information from this guy.
And Obi heard the truth about this hidden power, but then this mysterious guy escapes with Saji.
So Lady Obsidian knows that maybe the nobles aren't invincible. There's this dude who knows something. For the second half of our story, we're going to move to our desire. So we're going to draw again from the Major Arcana. The questions this time are what I think I want from you and what I actually want from you. So what you think you want from Lady Obsidian is judgment. It's kind of like, those trumpets that the angels use to call. They're coming out of the trumpets, but they're covered in these like huge veils, so you can barely see them. One of them has their arms outstretched towards the top. It's very mysterious looking.
I'm thinking war horn, call to action.
Saji was trying to get Obi to like join, right? So maybe Saji's convinced she'd be a great general, or she'd be a great weapon, or we could really turn the tide of the war.
Since that confrontation, she knows Obi will not, so I'm not sure if it still applies.
Unless she believes there's something she can change Obi's mind.
She thinks she can bring the true culprit of her family's massacre to justice.
That would also be about judgment, right? Like raining down judgment. Are we going to say that maybe it's someone who's related to Lady Obsidian? I kind of don't like the idea of Lady Obsidian themselves being the ones who killed the parents only because...
Yeah.
I feel like, how do you come back from that, right? Falling in love with the person who killed your parents.
It happens in wuxia, but still. I'm not saying Obi did it, but she thinks she has the power to bring the real culprit to justice.
You got the sun. So it's a very happy looking card. They're sort of using the rays of the sun to create a swing that they're swinging back and forth from. It kind of reminds me of the star, though. The figure is also hanging off of the rays of the star. So what does she actually want from Lady Obsidian?
To join the light side. She really wants Obi to stop being the obsidian.
She's tempering her expectations, but what she really wants is for Lady Obsidian to fight by her side. I got the Hierophant. I'm looking at this box, right, that's opening up. It looks like knowledge coming from the box and wisdom. Even though Lady Obsidian won the fight last time, she is so enamored with Sagittarius's fighting skill, her ability to use this Star Lance weapon in the water. And so she's telling herself, I want to learn how to fight like that. I want my army to learn how to fight like that. So I need to learn more from her. But let's see what she actually desires. I got Temperance. It's a naked person. They just have their hands to their chest. But in front of them, there's like a crystal full of water that's like flowing from the top to the bottom. Yeah, so there's so much water. I feel like what Lady Obsidian really wants is to have that same pure connection to the water, the same way that Sagittarius does. But I think she also desires to just be completely honest with Saggy because she comes from a place that is not honest with each other. It's just decadent and opulent and powerful, but she cannot afford to be honest with her family because it's a sign of weakness. So what she really wants is to be honest with Saggy, but she doesn't know it. I want to wager Temperance. I feel like there's something else that Obi wants to reveal.
I'll wager Judgment.
We know that Saggy wants to bring Obi to her side, and we know that Obi wants to learn more about the fighting style in the water. There's that mysterious dude, right? The hermit. We can drag him into this if we want.
What are your suggestions?
I can see that there's this really beautiful palace. Like, I feel like it was the palace that belonged to the first family. I feel like it was destroyed. I feel like it's a new family that's in power now. I feel like there's a secret reservoir of the water here underneath the mansion that the nobles do not know about. Maybe that hermit dude brought Saggy here to share some kind of information and Lady Obsidian tracked them down. But what do you think?
Initially, I was thinking like a prisoner exchange, like a political meeting. Could be on the surface, it was like a negotiation, but off hours, the mysterious guide took Saggy to see the secret reservoir.
Lady Obsidian, as part of a negotiation, will bring the person that destroyed the colony that killed Saggy's family, and they're supposed to meet at this broken down palace. Lady Obsidian will give up this person to take the ex-noble in return.
Is Hermit sacrifices himself, or was it a scheme?
That's a good question. Do you feel like it would be a scheme, or would it be self-sacrifice?
I think Lady Obsidian would not believe he will come willingly or he will be taken down by Saggy. Maybe they both know it's a trick. They're just pretending.
Lady Obsidian has her army waiting up above. They're both prepared for the worst. I like it. So things are really tense. I think they're inside the palace. The two prisoners are there. I got the Knight of Wands. I'm going to say how Lady Obsidian's power, passion, or desire overwhelms her and burns her. That's a really bad time to be passionate. The situation is so tense and the army is hidden, but I think the soldier that Lady Obsidian sacrificed her weapon for panics. He just has to I have to protect her. She sacrificed her weapon for me. I'm not worthy, all of that crap. Pulls the trigger too soon. Fire at Saggy, and I think Lady Obsidian throws herself in front of Saggy to take the hit instead. It's not going to be mortal, but I think it's pretty bad. Like, it looks bad. Like it went through the gut or something. It's a 6, but it's pentacles. Why do you doubt yourself? What opening does your opponent take advantage of?
But I lose this confrontation, right? Do you think the hermit would backstab Saggy?
The whole time we thought he was a good guy.
Saggy drops her guard. The moment that Obi went down, rushes to her side with her back completely open to the mysterious general. I really think she gets captured. She is outnumbered. There's no one in this trap that is on her side.
The ex-general says, "You have your orders. The operation is a success. It's a pity that Lady Obsidian had to be damaged in this way, but we have what we came for." The reason why he didn't betray her before this moment was because he knew he couldn't take her on his own. So he had to wait for Lady Obsidian to show up at the army. I think maybe that's why.
They now have the weapon.
Okay, let's go. I love this. The 7 of Cups. So we're changing judgment. There's a person, looks femme in the middle. There's 7 cups floating. They look kind of unsure of themselves. I have a suggestion.
Yes.
I'm wondering if it's this ex-general that was the one who really killed the family.
Yeah.
This person that Lady Obsidian brought, she was told that this was who destroyed the colony, but it wasn't. I think it's her uncle, because we know that she's part of the nobles, someone from her family that tried to kill her adopted family. Okay, and then so the victory. Can only one of us win, or can we both lose? So let's see what happens. The questions are from the Major Arcana, what I think I have to do to win, what I actually have to do to win. Sagi's in the prison. Lady Obsidian is back with the nobles. This ex-general is really horrible and saying things like, yes, it's thanks to Lady Obsidian that we have her. He's really just twisting in that knife. She has the glory again. She has what she thought she wanted. We're running out of cards almost. The first card I got is the Fool. You can see it's like someone who's running. I have to break Sagi out of prison and run away with her. That's what I think I have to do. I think the guilt really gets to me. The second card is the High Priestess. And she looks really mysterious. That black and white thing is coming back again. I think this is when Lady Obsidian finds out you are part of the family, like me. I have to let you come into your own power to really unlock it. Like, we can't just run away. I have to let you become strong enough to defeat everyone.
How do you define win in these questions? Winning for your side or winning what you want?
Why don't you see what you can truly offer? What does your heart want to give that the mind doesn't? It doesn't actually really say it has to be the victory of your faction. And I think in this case, because poor Lady Obsidian, she's so in love. I think by this point, she's been acting out of passion over and over again the last few confrontations. Maybe at best, Lady Obsidian is telling herself, together we can rule the galaxy, like that kind of thing. But really, she just wants to escape this life and to be with Sagi at this point. She knows she can't trust the nobles.
How did she take the news that she was not perfect?
They were so callous about it. I think they just called her to talk to her, and she's in this lab full of clones that look like her. They just sort of assumed, they're like, oh, you're this strong now, you're truly powerful and glorious, we no longer have to baby you. On the outside, she appeared to not be affected, but her heart's breaking on the inside for sure.
Will they be bringing in DNA samples from Sagi to create the next batch of super soldiers?
We'll see the clones, they'll be like those signs that say like, oh, this clone is imperfect, we're going to get rid of it. The ones that look like Lady Obsidian, and then the ones that look like Sagi. There are more of those clones that are being brought in. The clones aren't fully formed yet or anything like that. The Strength card. It's a woman. She's smiling. She's on top of this thing that kind of looks like a lion, but it has like this interesting face paint on or something. So what does Sagi think she has to do in order to win?
Obvious answer is to break through, but it could be that she needs to talk her way to the top. Maybe to play along with the scientists and just say she can fight in the front lines.
Maybe it'll help if you see the other card. It's the Hangman. What you actually have to do to win. So you can see it's a person who's mostly naked, but they look sort of serene as they're hanging there. And there's a sun behind them, but you don't know if the sun is setting or if it's rising.
Maybe she find out from Lady Obsidian that they are developing new batch of super soldiers from her DNA. Instead of just escaping, she knows she has to destroy all of the production line, including the source, which is herself.
Also makes sense why she's going to pretend to go along with it, because she's hoping she can get access to the rest of the genetic material, to what they're working on. Okay, let's see how this works out. I'm so nervous. I don't want to wager Ovi's wish to run away, even though I know it's false. I'm going to let her keep that false hope. I'm going to wager the High Priestess instead. Maybe there's going to be something she's going to learn about the truth of Sagi, depending on how this goes.
And I'm going to wager the Hanged Man. I want hope too.
Let's hold on to hope. I think they're about to go to battle. They're side by side. It's what both of them kind of wanted, but not.
Against the resistance, right?
Because then it would make sense why they would suddenly start fighting each other, because maybe either Sagi or Ovi would lose their resolve and be like, no, we can't just kill the resistance.
Or maybe it's the resistance finding this lab, and they're going to destroy the lab, and she has to pretend to defend it.
I like that better. You have a good chance of winning. The Ten of Swords. Say how your resolve intensifies, like metal in a forge of fire, the perfect weapon. So how do you hurt me, and how do you regret it?
It's emotional hurt. Put Obi down? Like, so who is the stronger warrior now?
So so painful. I love it. I love it.
She regrets it because she doesn't believe it. She thinks no matter what science says, no matter what the genes say, Obi still fight with her own conviction and nobility. It's not the rank, but nobleness of her heart.
Oh, I love that. I got the King of Cups. Our first cups. Say how your heart expands and urges you to forgive and let go, like water finding its way home. How do you fall in love with your opponents? What do you want more than anything? I like how in the first confrontation, it was you that did the falling in love. And then, I mean, I'm already in love with you, but I feel like this is a deeper state of love.
After I just said all these mean things to you.
Lady Obsidian knows that Saji is lying. The fighting's going on in the background. The rebels are like destroying the lab. Obi just sort of steps forward and says, I know what you're thinking of doing. I'm telling you, you don't have to sacrifice yourself in order for us to win. And I think this time she's going to kiss her again, but this time it's a gentler kiss compared to last time where it was like all passion and wands, fire energy. Now it's like water. But I don't know what's going to happen. So you wagered the hangman, which means you have to change it. I pulled the chariot like I got so confused.
Did you reshuffle?
No, and it's so weird that it's the only one that did it. That's why I'm so disturbed. Because it was the first card you pulled, right? Anyway.
Is it a sign?
I know, I feel like it's a sign. Here it is, the Six of Swords. Looks like the swords are a path under the water. There are two people on a boat, and the boat is moving towards the horizon. There's like vaguely, like you can see there's an island at the edge of that horizon. What does the hangman change into? How does that truth change?
They run away together. Two people on the boat, right? Leaving the dock.
They leave through the ship. They just let all the chaos happen behind them. Personally, I think it's because Lady Obsidian believes that the rebellion will win, and she wants to make sure that Saji is going to be safe. But how does Saji feel about leaving behind the rebellion?
Is it a permanent leaving, or it's just temporary retreat?
I think it's just for now, yeah.
They are going to rebuild somewhere else.
We go into the epilogue to see what happens. I'm going to draw one card from the Minor Arcana because since I technically want 3 confrontations, I got the cups. What promises of love do you make in this moment? How do you make them feel loved? Lady Obsidian's going to promise no matter what, the rebellion's going to win. I'm going to make sure that your past does not define you.
So is this the epilogue?
It's kind of like an in-between. Before I put in this mechanic, it felt like sometimes it went straight to the epilogue a bit too quickly. So this is to acknowledge the relationship between the two before we see what happens.
And only one person draws, right?
Yeah, the one who quotation mark won, but how do you win at love, right? Now we're really going into the full epilogue. Like in the beginning, we're going to pull 3 cards from the Major Arcana. And because this deck has 1 extra card, it means we actually have 4 cards to choose from. How does the world change in the wake of our confrontations? I'm going to I've shuffled and I'm very nervous. Card I got is the Devil, the bad card. It's out of the way. Okay, thank God. I was so worried this would be the last one. Because what's interesting about this card is it's a shadowy figure in the background. And you see there are people who are sort of bound to this throne, which kind of reminds me of the whole elite situation, the nobles we have. In the wake of all this, the galaxy is forced to see what the nobles are really capable of, how they've been controlling the families through genetics, through experimentations, all of that. So all of it just comes out in the open. They can no longer hide in the shadows like the devil anymore. Justice. What happens to the victor? There's a veil kind of over her head, and there are scales that are coming out from around the area of her elbows. But then there's this huge intersection that's sort of covering things like this abstract diamond shape. So what happens to Lady Obsidian?
She was able to hunt down the uncle.
And bring him to justice. That jerk. She told Saji, if it's going to hurt too much, I'll take care of this for you no matter what. And it's up to you if you come along with me. Would Saji show up to see what happens or allow Lady Obsidian to take care of it by herself?
Allow her to take care of it because she trusts her to do the right thing.
I just realized there's another bad card that I forgot.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to go for the top. I'm not going to think about it. And we have the Magician. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to show what it could have been, which is why I was nervous, okay? It was the moon, which doesn't look so good. It's really dark. And the Magician has all of the symbols. He has the sword, the wand, the cup, the pentacle. And the Magician's about power because the Magician is the most powerful card in the deck. So when I see it with the blues, The two of them together, they were no longer listening to the noble's ego. They figured out how to actually extend the water, renew this resource, make sure that everyone had access to it.
Saji's gonna give up the water as part of the weapon to conserve more of it.
What Lady Obsidian is going to do is, to every noble who wishes to escape, she's going to help them so that they don't have to be part of that system anymore, which I think is what's going to really shift the balance. Do we feel like it's a happy ending?
Yes. Come on.
Yes. I do too. I absolutely do.
You were dreading pulling the bad card at the end. It didn't happen. You're dreading it again and it didn't happen.
It's a side. We answer questions like how we thought the story game was going to play out and what happened instead, what we liked about the story, what we wanted to spend more time on, what we didn't like so much. All of these questions are optional, by the way, or how you'd like to bring this experience to other areas of your life.
This is your built-in debrief.
I try to build in debrief into my games because I find it weird when a game just suddenly ends.
Yeah, I keep debriefs.
I'll go ahead and go first. I thought my character was going to be meaner, but she kept pulling wands cards. I thought she was going to be meaner. I like that she wasn't. I think it really proved how complex people can be. When you said Saji would have to sacrifice herself and destroy herself and the clones, I was really worried that was going to happen, so I'm glad. But that's what made it exciting. I liked how you put that out there because it really raised the stakes.
And then I quickly just dismissed it by saying, I'm wagering it.
I kind of put that in there so that people would be brave about putting stuff out there because they know they could wager it. What questions would you like to answer?
The third question is interesting. Maybe this could be used between actual couples when they're fighting and just to work out their frustration safely. They can just say, our characters are fighting, but they still love each other. How would they find resolution? And depending on how they work toward their endings, it could signal to the other person whether they want to work toward reconciliation or not. That's like kind of manipulative.
It's also a good way to explore these difficult feelings. When you put it on other characters, it's a little easier to figure that stuff out, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
The second one, I want to play this story once I don't have to worry about the mechanics as much.
I do hope that because it was repetitive, not repetitive in a bad way, but because there was a structure, it was a bit easier. I didn't want to throw in too many new mechanics each time because it does take a while to get used to it. This is super easy for me to play because there's no prep whatsoever. We just show up and pull tower cards, so it's super fun for me.
When you said you were running out of cards, is it meant to be that way?
Yes, actually. I don't do it on purpose because I'm bad at math. But every time I write these questions, if they're only for the major arcana, I notice usually they're exactly 22 questions. On purpose so that you can see your options are disappearing. And once you become familiar with the tower, like for example, I kept thinking, why haven't we pulled the devil? Like I'm hoping the devil will show up early because, I mean, not that the devil's a bad card, but usually when it comes to a story about war-crossed lovers, if it shows up later, I'm a little worried. But that does make it exciting. And with the fountain, because it has an extra card, that means that there's another extra option, which is interesting.
This was awesome. And I'm happy that we were on the same wavelength early on. Like some of our interpretation weren't the same.
I had such a good time. And there were those magical moments like when we pulled out the chariot in between the minor. It was so weird.